Now, the last time I looked at this watch on this channel, we had a bit of the old viral success. Yeah, that watch, the Erebus Ascent, well, it was popular for a reason, really. It was an extremely well-made watch for not a lot of money, and what we have here is a new version of this watch with some slight differences, most notably a GMT version. Now, if you're not up to speed, Erebus is actually a YouTuber-created brand. This was made by Jody from Just One More Watch and his friend Steven, who's like a watchaholic, I don't think he'll mind me saying that, and they're based out of Australia. And the last one was very good for the money, and I have to say this one is similarly decent straight out of the box. And this brand basically targets, you know, the best built watches at the lowest possible price. That's kind of the mantra on their website and stuff. And here's your first look at their latest attempts to do that, the Ascent 40 GMT. So I'm guessing it's a 40mm diameter here, but I'll run you through full specs in a moment. Thanks to Erebus for sending this in, almost like a bit of a world exclusive, I suspect. I think I'm one of the first people to get my hands on this, so cheers for that. This one is going to be going back, I believe it's just a loaner unit. Now, one thing I will say is that this design really does cater quite well to a different bezel. So as you can see from the footage on screen, the original version had like a smooth bezel, whereas this one's got a slightly more sizable 24-hour bezel here with a brushed finish up top and then some nice polishing on the edges, as you can see, like a polished lip on the sides. And again, we just have really good case finishing on these Erebus watches, especially this Ascent more so than the other one. They also make some dive watches too. And when they asked if I wanted to take a look at this, well, immediately another watch came to mind in a way. And it was one I already own, and it was this piece of kit. This being the Christopher Ward C63 Sealander. This is the smaller one, the 36mm version. And while I'm sure that some of it is just because the bezels are the same, there are definitely a couple of more similarities here. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I think it's more the angles of everything. The fact that you got a lot of faceted elements, you got kind of a swooping case. But actually in the flesh, maybe they're a bit more different than I first thought. Now, one distinct difference with this Erebus versus the last one is apparently all of these ones are going to have these enamel dials, which I think always look really, really good. You can see here, it just has that silky, like inky finish to it, and it just makes everything else pop that little bit more. A bit like glossy PC monitors in a way. Just makes everything look that little bit more detailed. Yeah, pretty good looking watch this. Also looks pretty slim just because of the polishing. Kind of makes the sides blend in a little bit. This one just appears to be a standard black version. Comes in a bunch of other colours too, all of which seem to share that similar enamel finish. Now, the specs on this one are pretty good, as with most of these Erebus watches. And we've also got one or two quirks with the pricing too. So this has got a 316L stainless steel case, and as I said, you get a nice swooping design here that does tend to hug the wrist quite well, but we'll try it on in a second. Very good case finishing on these watches, both in terms of the brushing, especially the polishing. We also have a 316L stainless steel bracelet. This one is just a plain kind of brushed on top and then polished on the side setup. All solid links, it looks like. Also have a very good clasp here, milled clasp, which just tends to look and feel a lot better. And then one of these hyper adjustable concealed clasps as well, so you can push it to release it, and then you can adjust it just tiny increments, which is pretty good. Always get a comfortable fit with watches like this, and that's made especially so by the fact that we have female end links here, so you get the ability to conform straight vertically down like this. It doesn't jut out at any sort of angle, which I'm sure people with slightly smaller wrists may appreciate. We also have double domed sapphire here with a clear AR coating, and in some ways actually that clear AR coating looks a lot like one of the watches I recently covered, that Sternglass watch, also had white coating like that. Almost doesn't look like it's got any sort of AR coating, no obvious blue glow, but this one is pretty legible there. Definitely above average as far as sapphire crystals go in that department. We will do a quick test at the end, but I can't see why they'd be lying with this one. It does have a very, very subtle dome. In fact, on my camera here, it almost looks flat because it blends in so well with the table. But yeah, there is, I assure you, a fractional dome there in real life. Don't know if you can see that. That should give you really good scratch resistance without the haziness often associated with sapphire. This one has 100 meters of water resistance, and partly that's because of this. We've got a nice screw down crown there. We'll get into the functionality of that in a moment. And we also have a screwed rear. As with some of the other Erebus watches, these are pretty flat, as you can see, which is good. And 100 meters is really good enough for most people, I suspect. Under the hood, by the way, is the Miyota 9075 GMT movement, which is one that offers a slightly better beat rate than most automatic watches. As you can see there, it's pretty smooth, that second hand. And this is a Traveler's GMT, so to operate it, you can pop the crown open here. You can wind it if you want to wind up the movement. Then you pop it open one more step and you can adjust the hour hand there. So this is called a Traveler's GMT because you can basically leave the other hand at the appropriate time or adjust it to set it to the appropriate time in your home region. So you can always keep a track of the time back home. And then when you land at an airport or somewhere else in a different time zone, you can adjust that hand to compensate for that. And then you can easily track the two time zones at once. Obviously, this GMT hand here uses the bezel. That's how you tell the time with that one. In this case, it would be just after midnight. And the only side effect of this is that to actually adjust the date there, you do need to fully rotate the hour hand all the way around, and then you'll eventually get to where you need to be. So it isn't a quick set date as such, which might be a little bit troublesome if it's a watch that you're not going to wear all the time. But if it's one you're going to be wearing semi-regularly, you shouldn't have a problem really. This one has a 42-hour power reserve. Legibility as a whole, yeah, pretty good, at least with this model. And how much does it cost all that? Well, the pre-order prices that they've got here, I can't remember the exact pre-order dates. You'll have to check it out in the description. But £369 plus VAT plus shipping to the UK, so I think that's about 460 or 470-ish, or $629 but that includes tariffs and shipping to the US. And crucially, they've also got pricing here in Australian dollars, and it seems like if you live in Oceania, you may be able to get this at an even better price, because it says here 769 Aussie dollars, which is 300 and something Great British pounds. So yeah, this could be a real bargain in that region. Not sure how many of you are from there, but yeah, certainly worth bearing in mind. I'm assuming it's just some logistical thing really, because the brand is based out of there. And then the typical RRP after that pre-order window is basically 100 quid more or $100 more. So if you want this watch, be sure to grab it at the pre-order price. It's linked in the video description if you do want to take a look. I mean, the build quality of this watch is certainly commanding of a price similar to that, no doubt. Very nice level of polishing there. Really isn't all that far off the likes of a Christopher Ward. Certainly gets you 80 or 90% of the way there for about half the cost. But it is going to be more than your Chinese AliExpress specials. It does come with a 2-year warranty though, and pretty good customer service from what I've heard from you guys. Now we've got a couple of tests here. First of all, let's see the exact measurements of this one, because I think the first one was 39mm, the standard one. And this one's actually here about 39.7, so they must be rounding up to 40. Got a lug to lug of about 45.8mm, and a thickness, including that ever so slight dome, of, 12.3. That's exactly what they said online. If you were to exclude that, it wouldn't be a great deal thinner, maybe about 11.7. The packaging, by the way, with the Erebus watches is pretty good. Oh, and it looks like, yeah, just a cleaning cloth. Got some extra links there. I think just because this is a press sample, comes with some that someone must have already taken out at some point. But yeah, you actually have space for 2 watches here, so that could be quite useful for taking away on trips and stuff like that. And here's a quick look at it on my 6 1/4 inch wrist. Definitely does remind me of that Christopher Ward in more ways than one, because I think the original version I reviewed was the black one. And yeah, certainly not a bad looking watch at all. Don't mind the orange there either. Fairly slim as well. And as I showed you in the original review of the Ascent, it also is just nice and conforming to the wrist here. And there it is from the other side. Yeah, a pretty sleek design. You also get, as you can probably see, colour matched date wheels here, which is just a nice little extra touch that you often don't get on cheaper watches. This one obviously being black, but yeah, all the colours appear to have colour matched date wheels, which certainly makes the watch look a lot more coherent. And as you can see, the hands just have that really nice faceted finish to them. Really makes them look 3D and pop out. Let's see what loom we're working with here, because previous Ascent watches have had some of the best lume I've ever tried. And that looks to be the same again here because, I mean, I almost don't have to use the torch on this. But there it is. Wow, that's certainly a bright one. Bright blue lume. What are they saying that this compound is? BGW9. But it must be a thick application of that because this has to be one of the brightest under the torch I've seen. And yeah, really decent performance yet again from one of these Erebus watches. I anticipate that would last the majority of the night. Yeah, really bright there. Need to come up with a separate lume testing setup still. And just to confirm, we've got the Christopher Ward here, which we know has a sapphire crystal and gives us that nice strong reading on our diamond selector. Followed by the Erebus, which is similarly so. So yeah, definitely a sapphire crystal. So there's your first look at the Erebus Ascent 40 GMT. It's linked below. Definitely like this watch, and it's very, very well made. Not sure I love it though. I think that's a bit of a difference. It's a bit harder to quantify because there isn't really anything I dislike about this watch. I think it's a pretty good one. And I also look forward to just seeing what other designs Erebus comes out with next, just with their ability with the case finishing here, because that's definitely an area where this brand stands out. It almost glistens. Certainly some of the best polishing outside of 904L steel watches that I've seen.